Now that we've been introduced to some of the different postulates or theorems that you can use to show that triangles are congruent, we're actually going to use one of these to prove the following two triangles are congruent. So we begin to prove by looking at the given information. So I'm given that IE is congruent to GH and EF is congruent to HF. So in my statement number one, I'm just going to write down exactly those things. IE congruent to GH and EF is congruent to HF. And the reason I can say that is because the information is given. So you can just write down given. Now, similarly, so there's my first part here. Now if I look, F is the midpoint of GI. So again, that's given information. So I need to write that down. So for statement number two, I would write F is midpoint of GI. Again, the reason for that is simply that it is given. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and look at the diagram. I'm going to start marking down some of the things that I know. IE, so this side right here, is congruent to GH. Similarly, I know that EF, so I'll use two strokes to mark that, is congruent to HF. And if you think about it, we also know that F is the midpoint of GI, which means if it's a midpoint, that IF must be congruent to FG. And the reason for that is because of the definition of a midpoint. Okay? So now I can go back to my diagram and I'm actually going to put three markings on this side. It's congruent to this side up here, FG. Now, one of the postulates that we looked at was we're trying to prove that the two triangles are congruent, but I have a side, which matches side, side. And of the four postulates we used, that's one of the ones that we said. So now we can say triangle EFI is congruent to triangle HFG. And the reason we can say that is because of the side postulate.